A Lian Bichsel buzzer beater lifts the Stars past the Avalanche in preseason Game 2, and the position battles continue to heat up. Let's break it down next on Locked On Stars.
You're Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans. I'm Joey Erickson, former producer of 105 Through the Fan. Please be sure to subscribe. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. And as always, thank you so much for making us a part of your day and making us your first listen. It was another entertaining game for the Dallas Stars, and it ends with a Lian Bichsel bomb in the dying seconds of regulation to lift the Stars past the Avalanche by a final score of 3-2. I'm going to share my biggest takeaways from game number 2, also discuss some of the position battles going on within the organization, and I want to share some of my thoughts on the Texas Huddle from last night on Victory Plus. I thought that was rather intriguing. Would love to hear your comments on it as well. So drop them below, hit the like button, drop a subscribe, drop the notification bell, do it all. Never miss an episode of Locked On Stars. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Be sure to place your first $5 bet and you'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Just visit FanDuel.com to get started. So another fascinating game last night in Colorado. The Stars and Avs basically filled mostly AHL rosters, but we did get to see Wyatt Johnston, who picks up his first goal of the preseason, and Locked On Wyatt Johnston is officially back here on Locked On Stars. No surprise there as the Stars get a 5-on-3 and a lot of movement. Bourque, along with Stankoven and Johnston, Harley and Lundkvist, it just felt a bit unfair, but they capitalized on the 5-on-3 and they scored their first power play goal of the preseason. The penalties went a-flying throughout this one. It wasn't the best officiated game by any stretch, but hey, both these sides need to get work on the man advantage, and the Stars had 7 opportunities last night. They go 1 for 7. The Avs get a 5-on-3 themselves, and they were able to capitalize on it. They go 1 for 4 on the night, but good to see some players you really normally wouldn't see sort of make a name for themselves or really stand out. And Bichsel was one of those once again. He did make a mistake in the first period. He got puck jacked, which led to an Avs goal, but he wasn't going to go through this preseason flawless. And I thought Brett Severin on Victory Plus last night just continued to reiterate the point. He needs to play in the AHL, but boy, does he look really good. And I could see him playing there for 3 months and he's ready to play in the NHL. I'm all on board at this point. I just think there's a really, really solid foundation for his game that the Stars can continue to build on. And he showed that last night still. He's so skillful. He's big. He moves well. Not afraid to muck it up. He got involved with a little scrum in the first period as well, and he was throwing some punches. Like, that's some grit. That's some physicality, something the Stars have sort of been missing, and that may not be what he brings to the Stars this season. Maybe we have to wait till next year, but boy, I continue to watch him, and it's hard not to get excited about what he could potentially become. And the later on in the preseason, when we get to games 5 and 6, those will be really telling about where he is at this point in time, because the game is going to speed up as we get closer to our season opener here in just under a month, just a couple of weeks away. I can't believe it, but we'll get a better idea of where Bichsel is at in game 5 or 6 of the preseason when there's some more regulars in the lineup. So we'll have to keep tabs on that. You know, Mavrik Bourque looks like an NHLer, right? The way he handles the puck, find space for himself, just looking for ways to create offense, and he'll fit in perfectly alongside Logan Stankoven, and you put Jamie Benn on that trio, and no doubt in my mind that will be a nice force as your third line for the Dallas Stars, or to be, if you will. Stankoven continues to just work his bag off. He's all over the place. He's back checking. To speak on some of the players that are starting to stand out, it was nice to see Arttu Hiru pick up a goal last night. He has some juice, doesn't he? He's got some good juice. He's got some good legs. I thought he played a really solid game. Lyubushkin got his first action along with Brendan Smith. We'll get to them a bit later on in the position battles as well. But Lyubushkin and Smith sort of looked how we would suspect. And I know the game was a bit tough to watch since Victory Plus was doing a different way of broadcasting, but I quite enjoyed it. They brought on Daryl Razor Ray, and I'll get to some of my thoughts on what Brad Albert said as well. But a 3-2 win for the Dallas Stars. They outshoot the Avs 33-30. The Avalanche had some pushback. They didn't dictate the play as much as they did against St. Louis. And, Colorado pushed, and they had some good looks. By the way, Casey DeSmith looks really good. I didn't really mention that from preseason night 1. He didn't play last night, but I did want to touch on him because he's going to be an integral part of this thing next year. And Pete DeBoer, who is actually having surgery on appendicitis, we wish him nothing but the best. Seems that they caught it early and they decided to remove it. So hopefully everything's going to be all right there. And we wish him a speedy recovery since he was not on the bench last night. But they mentioned they want Jake to play about 55 games next year. So DeSmith is sort of going to get the rest. And that's where we sort of figured where Ottinger was going to live, right? That 55 to 65 games. Where can they fit him? Somewhere in that range. And there's going to be injuries, hopefully not to either of the netminders, but Magnus Hellberg, that gets me into him, where he's your third goaltender for the Stars. In previous seasons, they didn't have a great amount of depth. Look at last year where Matt Murray only played in one game when Ottinger was out for over a month. I mean, they rode Wedgwood hard, and the game Murray played in, he got a shutout against the Wild. I happened to be at the game, but they needed some trust in that position, and Matt Murray left, so they signed Hellberg, who's a big guy, made an incredible stop in that first period, or may have been the second, but he had to slide over to his right, and he got over to Stone and Avs player, which was great. Gives you some size in that position, and a third guy that you can rely on. And Remi Porier had a decent night, had a nice glove save on Kivi Ranta, who buried Stankoven from behind earlier in the game. Kivi's a little pest out there. I would still love him to be a Dallas Star. But yeah, I mean, Hellberg had a nice night for himself. Just to take a look at some of the game scores, Hockey Stat Cards has been putting this out. I like to kind of reference this throughout the regular season. Lyubushkin had the highest game score at 2.53. Lundkvist, get a load of this. He played over 20 minutes last night. Over 20 minutes. And it's the preseason. But he played over 20 minutes for the first time in like a long time. It's been a while since Lundkvist has hit that mark. So it was good to see him sort of find his game. Matej Blumel is interesting too, because he is going to pop up sort of in our position battles. Where is he going to slot in? Can he be the Stars? 13th forward? That's a guy to keep an eye on. Christian Kyrou on the power play a few times last night. He's got some elusiveness to him. He's slippery. He's not going to make the Stars out of camp. He's a long shot, but he's got some creativeness in his game on the back end. I mean, the AHL in general, think about the players the Stars are going to have in Cedar Park with Kyrou and Capobianco. You can throw in there. Like, they have some solid pieces. And then, of course, you throw in Petrovic and Bichsel to the mix. Like, that is a really good decor. So the Texas Stars are going to be in good hands, and Dallas will continue to develop them. And Sevy also brought up a great point last night on Victory Plus about Jim Nill is never in a hurry to get these guys up. He's never in a hurry. We've seen it before, just this last season with Stankoven. And to be completely honest, if Stankoven just wasn't completely dominating the AHL, he probably wouldn't have been called up last year. If the Stars were healthy too, I guess that's another caveat. If the Stars were healthy, he probably never gets called up. Cap space wouldn't have been there. But with some injuries and him dominating, he got brought up early. I don't know if he comes up if the Stars are healthy the entire season. I think that's a real question to be had. Fortunately for the Stars, he was, and his impact was noticeable on day one. And they frankly needed him in the playoff push when guys were huffing and puffing and just mentally and physically exhausted as the run continued. So, yeah, all in all, another positive night in terms of a preseason win. And what an ending, too. Just a Bichsel bomb, like tickled the rafters and hammered it home with like 0.2 seconds to go in the game. Just what other way would you want to end a preseason game? That's a great way to do it. And yeah, Bichsel stands out again, despite a mistake in the first period, which he's going to make plenty in his career. That's what it's like to be a young defenseman up in the National Hockey League. Alrighty, let's dive into some of these position battles I want to get into with Hiru, Brendan Smith, Lyubushkin. Throw Blumel in there. Who can fight to earn themselves a spot on the opening night roster? We'll do that in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by FanDuel. Hey, NFL fans, you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get the hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. NFL is for Sundays. Plop on our couch, and we enjoy the Dallas Cowboys, and we enjoy all the other games going around in the league. And you can get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet on FanDuel. Yes, $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. All you got to do is place your first $5 bet. So go ahead and visit FanDuel, FanDuel.com. You can download it on your smartphone. It's available on the App Store and the Play Store. FanDuel.com, FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. By the way, apologize if there are any weird sounds or music coming through. I'm in a building here in Des Moines, Iowa, currently traveling up to Minnesota for the NAHL Showcase, which will be a ton of fun. And we stopped into Des Moines. The boys are practicing. I'm in this incredible facility, by the way. It's like 2 full-size soccer fields in here, 2 sheets of ice, volleyball courts, basketball courts, pickleball, you name it, they have it here. Incredible stuff. And just in Des Moines. So yeah, but anyways, to jump back on the topic of the Dallas Stars, there were some roster moves, by the way, I do want to share with you. The Dallas Stars have loaned back to the Barrie Colts Tristan Bertucci and Emil Hemming. So the Stars' first-round pick is back in juniors, which is not a big surprise. Bertucci, I thought, had a few nice games. Hemming, you could see why the Stars liked him, but he's going to need some development, obviously. He's a 3, maybe 4-year down the line type player for the Stars. So they return to the Barrie Colts, and yeah, the Stars have 3 prospects along with Gardner over in Barrie. So we'll have to keep our eyes on them as the season rolls along as well. But the position battles, let's start with the defense because they're always a hot button issue here in Dallas. Lyubushkin and Smith. Lyubushkin, I think, is going to serve a top 4 role here in Dallas, in my opinion. I think he's going to be paired up with either Miro or Harley. It just seems like the right fit. Lyubushkin has shown that he can play with really strong offensive talent like he did with Morgan Rielly in Toronto. I know his name keeps coming up, but that's where he's had some of his most success. And you pair him with Miro or Lyubushkin, whether that's in your top 4, and you feel pretty good about his game. And he'll sort of be battling, I think, with Brendan Smith. I don't really throw Lundkvist into that mix. Lundkvist, for me, is battling against Brendan Smith. That's going to be your 6th and 7th defenseman. And Smith could be a pair. Smith could be paired up with Lyubushkin too at some point during the year. If Lundkvist is really struggling, they could have Harley and Lindell together, and then you're having Lyubushkin and Smith. Like, that is a very real possibility and something I haven't really thrown around there. But as I start to watch last night's game, I'm like, well, I don't really trust a whole lot in Lundkvist and the coaching staff, at least giving him enough time to sort of find his role within the lineup. So if he's out, then yeah, Smith is going to have to jump in. So that 7th defenseman is like Lundkvist and Smith against one another. And Lundkvist does have the righty advantage, and I think Pete DeBoer would like to have the righty-lefty pairings, but if Lundkvist isn't going to show enough, then those sort of battles are going to ensue with Lyubushkin, Lundkvist, and you can kind of throw Smith in there. So I'm intrigued to see as the training camp and preseason process goes along where Lundkvist stands. Because last year coming out of camp, there was a lot of positives behind him. Remember, he came in stronger, he was a bit bigger, and there was a noticeable step up in his game. And he's looked the part so far in the first 2 games, but that's sort of what you would expect out of him. Like, he's played 100 games in the National Hockey League. Like, he gets it, right? But can he take that step where they trust him to be on the PK? They trust him to play 5-on-5. They trust him to be on the power play if they need him to take over in that department as well, right? Like, those are the type of things that Pete DeBoer is going to look for. Can they trust him in all situations? We didn't see that last year, at least towards the end. This is like the make or break season for him. So I think Lyubushkin, I think he serves as a top 4 role. I don't know if he's really battling for minutes against anybody. Stars need bodies, and he's a right shot. And I think he's going to slide in nicely. And the more you start to mull over what the Stars have, you start to feel really good about it. I saw this comment on Twitter, and it was from a Stars fan that said, once I get out of the mindset of it's not what we wanted, I'm going to feel pretty good. And I think that's sort of where I had been on this summer. Like, well, it's not what we wanted. We didn't want Dumba and Lyubushkin necessarily. But, I mean, like, you watch Dumba and Lyubushkin play the first 2 games, like, okay, yeah, they serve a perfect role. Like, this is what Dallas needed, just some bodies that can play minutes for you. And it may not be perfect, and maybe it's not the perfect fit, but it does serve a role. And I hate to get into the Cowboys Stars comparison, completely different game with the salary cap and all that, but you hear what comes out of the Cowboys front office all the time, and it just seems like a bunch of hoo-ha. Like, the Stars are active in trying to fix their issues, right? And you could say that less offseason they weren't coming into the year. You could that's a fair criticism. They didn't address the back end. But this they did. They tried. It may not be the perfect replacements for Chris Tanev. It may not be ideal, but they're putting resources and they're addressing it. It may not be to the likes of us or the media, but they're addressing it and they're trying to fix the issue. And I can show them some credit for that. I give them some love for that, albeit it may not be the shiny toys that were available in free agency. Anyways, switching over to that 13th forward. This is the fun one, really. Blumel back, Hiru, who Stars seem to really like. And Hiru can fly a little bit. He can pick him up. He can put him down. Back's a good player. We all sort of know what Blumel is, and he's had his opportunity. I love Matej Blumel, his style of play. It's really, really simple, right? And he's kind of slippery, and he's got some underrated skill. Had a really nice season in Texas. I would love for Blumel to sort of be your 13th forward. Hero's going to push him for that, but Blumel gives Pete some offensive ability too, right? Like, he can put the puck in the back of the net. And he's shown that at one level. Can he do it consistently in the NHL? I don't know. Possibly not. But him with like Sam Steele and Blackwell, it gives you a guy that can finish, right? And DeBoer wants all four lines to contribute. It's not your prototypical checking line. And if Blackwell is scratched here and there, like, Blumel's a nice little addition to your lineup. And frankly, you could move him up further in the lineup too with injuries, right? Like, there's going to be injuries throughout the season. Blumel is a guy that you can rely on. I think is going to serve as sort of your Joel Hanley for the Stars, where he plays every 4 games, maybe even more than that, every 5-6 games. But he comes in, he does a great job. Sort of the role Ty Dellandrea was sort of serving for Dallas last season, where he wasn't playing for 8 to 10 games in a row, and then boom, he jumps in, and you're like, yeah, he's a good player. Would like him to get more minutes, but it's pretty crowded up front, and that'll be a position battle to really be keen on. Blumel, Hero, and back, like, those 3 guys are really, really pushing to be on the opening night roster. And let's face it, I don't know if the Stars could go wrong in a lot of ways. Like, they're 3 really nice players that can serve on your bottom 6. So those are some of the battles that I'm keeping an eye on as training camp wears on. I'll say, man, I love Bichsel. I love him. I'm on board. I don't care about this AHL seasoning. No, I'm good with it. But I'm going to be knocking on the door in February, I feel like. But bring the kid up. He's ready. And he may not be. We gotta take our time with these young defensemen. Alrighty. Let's talk about the Texas Huddle a bit. I thought it was intriguing. I want to hear your comments as well, so drop them below. We'll get into that in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by Indeed. We're driven by the search for better, but when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. It's your matching and hiring platform, over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of the show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/lockedon. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. You need to hire. You need Indeed. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is also brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. I've had a ton of fun on Prize Picks recently, getting into some football action, getting into some hockey when that starts as well. And right now in September, one Caleb Williams passing yard gets you 1 win on Prize Picks every week in September. That's right. Only 1 yard gets you an automatic win every football weekend in September. So 4 weeks of free W's. Don't miss out on the deal on Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONNHL and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code LOCKEDONNHL on Prize Picks. Get $50 instantly when you pay $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks. Run your game. I would love to hear your feedback on Texas Huddle last night on Victory Plus. It wasn't the most ideal way to watch a hockey game. I understand, but preseason hockey can lack some juice sometimes. It can. So I didn't mind it. I know we're trying to nitpick and really look at the small details of certain players' games, but I really enjoyed Brad Alberts and Daryl Razor Ray. Can't go wrong with both of those joining. And I thought Brad had a lot of interesting things to say about the Stars business-wise and how the business is better than it has ever been, which is no surprise. This last 3 years, they've just made it a huge jump. And he mentioned the amount of work and preparation that was put into Victory Plus. Look, they're not going to be doing this during the regular season, the Texas Huddle. This is just something that's a bit laid back. And I thought it was good. And you get some perspective from Daryl Ray and Brad Lukowich, the former Dallas Stars defenseman as well. And they just kind of chat and there's a hockey game going on. It's like the Manning cast, right? And I don't watch the Manning cast, but for something they just kind of thrown together and like, yeah, let's do this for a road game. I liked it. I know it's not the best way to watch a hockey game, so I would love to hear your perspective on it as well. So please let me know in the comments below. But I thought President Brad Alberts had a lot of interesting things to say, whether that's on Bichsel, just the Stars business, and sort of what's going on behind the scenes and renovation. AC, like that's all great stuff. And I think it's a good look for the Stars organization. We've been clamoring for years on just Stars content in general. Just give us content. Like we love the Stars. We love the Stars. Look at the preseason game the other day, like at the AAC. Like that place was filled. It was filled. Like in Dallas, Texas, in the middle of football season. Like that's a big deal. At least in my opinion, that's a big deal. And we've been clamoring for just coverage of the Dallas Stars. And I hope to bring that to you guys on an everyday basis because I love it. I am so grateful to even have a platform to do this on. And it's because of you. And now the Stars have their like just this platform where they can just force feed us content, just force feed us all this stuff. And I think it's just been a huge smash and success. And I like the Texas Huddle. I don't want it every day. I don't want it every game. And I don't think that's going to be the plan. But I thought for like maybe a one-off or, maybe two times in a preseason, like go for it. Get Sevy on the whiteboard and they're just cracking jokes with each other. It's great stuff all the way around. So not too many negative things to say about Texas Huddle, but I think Victory Plus off to a smashing start. I know many of you mentioned some of the issues you had on your phones watching, and I've ran into some similar stuff as well yesterday. I was on a bus, so it's just really, really difficult to some degree with connection, all that, but there are some tweaks I think they're going to make, and they're going to sort all that stuff out. Like I said, yesterday's episode, want to get it on my TV and see how that performs as well when I get back home eventually. Alrighty, that's all I have for today. That's all I have. I can't hear myself in these headphones, so I feel off, and hopefully it comes through all right for you guys. Thank you as always for the love and support. Man, hockey's back, baby. We're in full swing. Hit the subscribe button, please. We're almost at 2,500 subscribers. Let's continue to do that. And we're continue to bang out episodes every day. I'm supposed to get with Uri Kralik hopefully soon. No promises there. Supposed to meet with somebody from 100 Degree Hockey as well this week. So a lot of good stuff coming your way in the next few weeks. Have a great rest of your day, Stars fans, and we'll see you tomorrow. So long, everybody.